I wouldn't say that there are specific lessons that Uzbekistan is learning from China. I would say that there is some sort of exchange that is starting to happen in the last several years between Uzbekistan and China, and specifically those lessons focused on two fields. First, it's corruption, and the second is poverty alleviation. These are some official goals that Uzbekistan is putting in its partnership between itself and China. This is something that President Shavkat Mirziyoyev is talking about. This is something that the governments are discussing with each other. There are also specific institutions that have been organized from Uzbek side that have a cooperation with the Chinese side. I would say it's an exchange of experience that Uzbekistan wants to implement in its own system, and it started more or less 3-4 years ago. That's why we don't really understand where it will go, whether it will bring some positive positive consequences or negative ones. But from what is happening right now, we can say for sure that we can state several things. First of all, every time where you hear about an authoritarian regime that has been known for state-level corruption, fighting against corruption, it's not really a fight against corruption. It's a sort of attempt to organize the elites, attempt to organize those who work for the government, and to kind of change the rules of the game. But everyone understands that corruption exists, and this is the way that the whole system works, and it's impossible to get rid of corruption without changing the whole system. And when you change the whole system, we're talking about democratization. So here we should understand that it's mostly a rhetoric rather than a real change. On the second part of the exchange of experience on the poverty alleviation, here we might expect some positive dynamics, because China has proved to really help those who are under the poverty line to get more incomes, and this has been proved by the United Nations. And in 2018, Chinese government officially pronounced that there is no longer extreme poverty in China. Of course, these statistics might be tricky, and we cannot really trust everything that the Chinese government says. But the positive dynamics in this regard is visible, and this is true. So if Uzbekistan tries to do something like that and doesn't try using tricky schemes like working with the formula of poverty, lowering the poverty line, if Uzbekistan doesn't go to this direction, we will see some of the positive advantage in this regard as well. So the government is playing the primary role in this whole process. I mean, everything that is happening inside Uzbekistan is happening mostly through the government, because when we speak about Uzbekistan domestic or foreign policy, we should understand that Uzbekistan is a very centralized authoritarian country with a united set of political elites who have consensus among themselves, and anything that they are doing with China or with any other country around the world, with other countries of Central Asia, with Russia, with the US, this is all dictated by the government. So in this regard, there is no question that these exchange of experience with China is happening centrally through the government, and not through grassroots level, not through people. If we talk about people, actually, people are very skeptical about exchange of some sort of policies or experience with China, because people don't really understand what are the China's goals in Uzbekistan. For ordinary citizens of Uzbekistan, there is a huge lack of information about China that is available in Uzbek language. People don't really get a real analysis about what their government is doing with China and what might be the consequences of growing cooperation between the two countries. So that's why we can even say that the government tries to limit this information that might be available for its own people, because it's afraid that people might be against some of the directions that Uzbekistan is going into. Yes, Uzbekistan is implementing Chinese technologies, not political technologies, but real technologies, in its governance and in building so-called smart cities. So they have been using technologies of different Chinese companies that are related to the Chinese government. First of all is Huawei, and Huawei is very actively present on the Uzbek market of telecommunication, but also on the market of smart cameras, AI technologies that allow the local governments to track people around the city, to track car owners that might, do something that is against the laws, etc., etc. But most importantly, Uzbekistan is dependent on technologies that are produced by the companies that are affiliated with the Chinese government, and is also dependent on the credits that are being given by them. For example, Huawei is investing millions of dollars into Uzbekistan's this smart city strategy. And the bad side of it is that this process and this cooperation is not transparent, so we cannot check whether Uzbekistan invites, for example, Chinese engineers to those facilities. We don't know whether data is being stored inside Uzbekistan or is being shared with the Chinese counterparts. And it brings, of course, a lot of questions and concerns from the people, because they don't really know where their sensitive data goes. And it's, of course, something that will have its consequences, I guess, in the nearest future. I would say that Uzbekistan, if we compare its policy to other Central Asian countries, is different. In a way, it's unique because no other Central Asian country officially says that it's importing some of the Chinese policies inside of it. So in this regard, Uzbekistan is the only one in the region, and this is not something that everyone is doing. But if we compare Uzbekistan to other countries across the world, especially those countries who are partners of China and who are parts of Belt and Road Initiative, we will see that the exchange of experience, especially in authoritarian know-how and exchange of technologies, is happening between China and Latin American countries. For example, Ecuador was one of the first countries that imported Chinese technologies and started to develop its own system of this smart city. There are also countries in Africa that are also at least on the rhetorical level, saying that they will be following Chinese way of developing their governance and developing their own states in the future. But the biggest question here is that Chinese model of governance is very unique, and it's the core of it is Soviet and its communist regime, where you have the party as the core institution that has spread its hands everywhere imaginable inside the country. And there are not many countries around the world that have similar governance system, and that is why implementing something that China has done in its governance is almost impossible for countries like Uzbekistan, where you have parliament, you have 3 branches of power, you have constitution, you have officially democracy and the president, but in reality, of course, it's different. So I would rather say that although we hear and see some of the countries talking about important Chinese experience in the governments, it's not necessarily will bring to any real results, but stay something that it is today.